now I invite Sanjay to take up the next session. Sanjay has a varied background. He's lived in England, India, in Netherlands, and Singapore, in Malaysia, in US, and in many more countries. He has spent a lot of years in the cargo industry. Currently, he is founder and CEO of 21cc Education, which has office in Mumbai and Netherlands. And he creates 21cc Education creates e-learning and mobile learning content to help frontline workers to do their job. Sanjay to take over the session, introduce the next speaker. Sanjay.
Thanks, Mehul. Thanks very much for those kind words. So I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Manu Rajan, and I am truly envious of Manu reading his profile, but more importantly, seeing where he's based, because he has the good fortune of being based in Cambodia. And it has to be one of my favorite countries, still one of our standout family holidays from a few years ago. So looking at your photographs, Manu, of you and the team, I almost felt homesick. So I know you have a riveting presentation for us. Manu actually has a very varied background, across industries, advertising, analytics, telecom, etc. But he's got a very deep interest in human development, and his entire presentation, which he's now going to share with us, is what he has done at Wings, his company, his fintech company in Cambodia, to bring about a cultural change. So Manu, floor is yours, and I'm sure there'll be lots of learning from you.
Thank you, Sanjay. So ladies and gentlemen, it's good afternoon from Cambodia. First of all, many thanks for having me here along with so many esteemed speakers and authorities in the subject of human resource development. I'm not an authority, but as a CEO, I'm just a beneficiary of good HRD practices. So whatever I'm going to share with you today are practical learnings and observations only. And I would be using my current company, which is Wing Cambodia, as an example, so that there is a reference point. But before we go, I would like to give you before we start, I'd like to just briefly introduce the country and the company so that you are in a better position to appreciate the rest of the slides. So Cambodia is a relatively small country compared to its neighbors with about 16 million population. And out of this 16 million population, more than 50% of them are 25 years of old, less than 25 years of old, making it one of the youngest countries in the world. The number of SIM cards are high, just like many of the developing countries in the world. So we have about 9 million Facebook accounts in a 16 million population country with about 128% mobile penetration. Cambodia has its own unique history, and some of you may well be aware of it. And that has also influenced the culture and the people. So from a behavioral characteristics point of view, Cambodians are usually referred to as passive aggressive. And most of you may understand what I mean. So it's in that context that I would like to introduce Wing to the distinguished audience here. Introduction to Wing is a specialized bank in payments that was started 11 years ago. And since then, we have led many firsts in Cambodian market, including being the very first failed fintech in Cambodia. That's right. So when Wing was started by ANZ Royal about 11 years ago, it didn't do well. It failed so badly that after 3 years of unsuccessful operations, ANC sold the bank for just $1 to the Royal Group of companies, the current owner of Wing. It was after the Royal Group took over that the employees of Wing turned around the business to make it one of the most successful fintech companies in the region and one of the fastest growing fintech companies in the world. Today, Wing has become an integral part of Cambodians' daily life, and the transaction volume last year alone was about 90% of the country GDP. So every time we mention to someone that the transaction volume of Wing is equal to about 90% of the country GDP, they look at me in surprise and ask 19, and that's impressive. And I say, no, I have to correct them by saying, no, it is 90 and not 19. So this turnaround has been made possible by the employees of Wing, whom we fondly refer to as Wingers. So Wing has had many nationalities in its workforce over the years, not just Cambodians. It's a company that is built by many people from different nationalities. The first CEO was from Australia, then followed by a Filipino, then followed by an Indian, and so on and so forth. So the expats have worked as individual contributors as well as people managers. So the biggest success of Wing has been its ability to attract, train, retain, and keep these wingers motivated. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you a practical example of how an organization can drive engagement in a multicultural environment. So how we create these winning wingers who are writing one of the greatest success stories in fintech. So why is creating a culture of engagement so important? Because we all know highly engaged business units have extremely high productivity, low levels of attrition, and that results in better customer satisfaction, further resulting in profitability, and so on and so forth. But those are research findings. You know, how do you apply as a CEO? How do you apply these at your workplace, or as an HR practitioner? How do you apply this? So Wing is an extremely agile enterprise. So we usually jokingly say that we are like 20 startups put together. So we started out as a money transfer company, and today we have a flourishing corporate business. We have a remittance business that allows customers send and receive money from 200 plus countries, a payment business with about 40,000 merchant points, and your budding food delivery business, e-commerce marketplace, so on and so forth. So it's such a chaotic environment, if I were to put it that way, where the apt way to describe Wing is like it is a 20 startups put together under one roof. So in such an environment, how do you get your employees to forget about things like salary differences with your disruptive competitors? How do you make them own up the projects and force them through these barriers of bureaucracy that could exist to complete these projects on time every time? And more importantly, how do you make them empathize with each other and make them treat each other fairly? And how to make these people ignore and stay away from the office politics, and how to make them not let their passive aggression come in the way of organizational objectives. So we went about doing this very patiently, very methodically, and a little unconventionally. And the lessons we learned over the years is what I'm going to be sharing today. So the first and foremost is an inspiring vision. So the vision is what is going to provide you with a common thread to bind all these people together. And having one vision is not enough. So you have to consistently and continuously reinforce that vision. And all organizations have employee value proposition. But the real challenge is to bring this employee value proposition to life every day at work. The larger the organization, the more difficult it is going to be for you. But at Wing, the existence of the value proposition is brought to life every day through culturally relevant interventions that strikes a chord with these employees. The value propositions are simple. Those are fundamentals. So at the time of hiring, there is a promise to help develop the individuals as better professionals, willingness to care, reward, and all striving for success, making an impact, and so on and so forth. Then rewards, as you know, are an important factor in the employer value proposition, and those are fundamentals. And these fundamentals are the ones on which you're building the rest of the differentiators. And every organization understands that. There are multiple programs all through the year that the HR department initiates, like the Wing Management Manager Passport Program, which is a people manager training for supervisory skills for new people managers. And you have succession planning, individual career development programs, and job diversification through job rotation, overseas and local training, and so on and so forth. All this executed with process rigor and a humane touch. Now, that's the differentiator. Now, how do you bring a humane touch to the people management? So while process ensures there is continuity and quality adherence, what ensures a humane touch is a unique approach that the Wing HR team has done for the people managers. So knowing each other's story is critical to appreciating the way people behave and respond at work, especially if the colleagues are from different cultures, different nationalities and regions. Each country and each culture and each individual is different. While it is important to have a common theme binding all together and a common goal, motivating all of us to work towards it, it's equally important that people do take each other with them during their journey. And what Wing does is that we do it with the help of a little bit of psychology and a lot of patience. So Wing assigns senior people managers with a life coach, and the life coach assigned is an expert in psychology and is formally available for a session once every month and is informally available anytime they need his or her assistance. The life coach listens to them, understands them, and more importantly, helps them understand each other, which goes a long way in making sure that in the kind of agile workforce work environment we have, it's effortless for us to understand each other. The life coach not only guides them through their professional lives, but they also help them blend their individual personal lives to their work lives effortlessly. So not all sessions are easy. So wingers have been saved from failures in their personal lives through this exercise. We have workplace relationships, families, hobbies, healthy habits, parenting, marriage counseling, maintaining friendships. They all become part of these life coaching sessions. And the important thing is the life coaching sessions are not just a single session. Normally the life coaching sessions last for a minimum of 1 year. And if required in special cases, it is continued thereafter. And these life coaching sessions end with a graduation ceremony at the end of the year, where the wingers celebrate this positive transformation that they have gone through in the past year with the colleagues, and also with the life coach, their specific life coach. And this single initiative alone has created an extremely positive and objective work environment for us. So interpersonal relationships in Wing it has improved, and I've noticed mutual respect, transparency, objectivity in communication, all became common. And most importantly, we have had a cascading effect that has started showing on the subordinates of these people managers. To give an example, when the COVID struck in March, we had about 1,000+ opportunities for people from financial institutions in the capital city of Phnom Penh alone. And the employee attrition rates for Wing dropped by more than 50% in the months of April, May, and June. Again, proving to us that what we are doing is actually working. And lastly, it does help that Wing is a successful company. And saying nothing, nothing succeeds like success is 100% true in our case. And success keeps you closer together as a team. It helps bring acceptance and visibility to what you're doing. It also gives you enough room to hide your little failures if you have had them. But not every organization may be going through a good phase. I understand, especially nowadays, there could be organizations that are having declining performance. But they still have to hold on to their best talents to tide through these tough times or to turn around their businesses. So in such organizations, it's very important to break down the milestones to short-term, achievable, smaller projects. Motivate the teams to achieve them and celebrate these small victories. Success, however small they may seem, my people make you hungry for more. So we observe that celebrating small victories and work wonders for keeping your teams together. So small gestures go a long way in bringing big results. So if I were to sum up in the interest of time, and also to keep some time for question and answers, so these are the 4 key differentiators that we identified at Wing in the making of a winger. So one is clarity of vision. You need an inspiring ideology to bind the people together, but that cannot exist only in the annual report. It should be reminded to them often, and in every single product, every single service, every single initiative, the communication has to put itself to that test, that it is staying true to that vision. And implementing your employer value proposition is second. The EVP for Wing includes subjective initiatives such as life coaches. Now, if you were to evaluate that in the short run on an Excel sheet, it may not show cost benefit. But however, you need to have patience if you're going in for something like this, and it has to be long term. While it's critical to create a career path for every employee, which is an objective goal for HR, it is also equally important to ensure the career path blends seamlessly with their life path. Otherwise, always there is going to be a conflict. And find success, the fourth one, is to find success and celebrate small victories. If it is becoming difficult for you to find success, create success by reducing the milestones. And if it is not happening naturally on the large canvas, break your war down into smaller battles with an intention to win, and celebrate those victories with the people who caused it. And as you know, an organization is only as good as its people, and a leader is only as good as the people he or she leads. And I'm extremely fortunate that I'm leading 600 wingers who bond together as siblings, and they strive to win. So that's the end of the presentation, and I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the Wing story, and also each one of you who listened to me attentively. Many thanks for your patience and time. Please do enjoy the rest of the webinar, and Sanjay, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Manu, for taking us through that. And you know, you touched upon a number of very important issues, but I think you did this in a very humble manner, pretending that it's all part of a day's work, which I think is the hallmark of a true leader. And yet, I would like to ask you one or two questions. So you referred a few times to, you know, the passive aggressive attitude of people. So how do you, in a culture which presumably isn't your own, how did you actually also as a leader help to draw people out? And by the way, when you were showing your slides, there's one very telling slide where there's a whole group of you and you're out on a trek and everybody's holding bamboo sticks or I don't know what they're exactly holding. And in that slide, if everybody notices, you're standing at the back. You know, you're standing way behind. So with that little setup, how do you as a leader draw people out in that culture?
Okay. So the passive aggressive, so a good thing about different organizations that I've worked across the country, and this is the 23rd country I'm getting an opportunity to do some work for. I would rather say 23rd market I'm getting an opportunity to do some work for. So when you work in different countries, some of the organizations give you a cultural orientation, and they will tell you these are things that you should watch out for, and these are careful about. So similarly at Wing also, when a new expat joins, there is a cultural orientation and there is a little bit of briefing done on traits of passive aggressive behavior and how you should be maneuvering yourself through that. Imposing yourself as a leader is not something that is appreciated in passive aggressive behavior. You have to be a facilitator. You cannot be showing. It takes time, it takes patience. So that's why I initially said it took us patience and just a little bit of psychology to do that. You have to work on them over a period of time, and that's why the life coach sessions are not just for a month or just a conference room session. It's a real life session for a year. So it takes patience.
Great, thank you. I will add one more question from the group, and then I think we probably have to wrap up in view of time. But somebody, Nishant, has asked a very interesting question saying, how do you manage the low context and high context culture working and engaging together? So I think that maybe ties in with the previous question. If you could address that, please.
So what would that mean? High context and low context?
Well, I was hoping somebody from who's smarter than me would know what that means, but that's what Nishant is asking. So East and West, for example. Okay, he's saying East and West, for example.
The cultural differences.
Right, right.
Okay, so that's what I guess, yeah, I guess I touched upon a little bit of that in the previous answer. So the cultural orientation is very important. You even set out to start working in a new country. You need to know what are the differences there. You for example, let's take two countries in Africa, for example, Nigeria and Ghana, very similar countries, very close to each other. People may think that, okay, they all look the same, but people may think that, okay, so because Ghanaian is very close to Nigeria may have the similar characteristic traits. But that's actually not true. They're drastically different when it comes to their approach towards people and their approach towards life. One person is more outward looking, another person is more inward looking. And what motivates me at work may not be what motivates the other person at work. So even, I will not say who stands for what, but you have to have drastically different communication strategy. You need to have drastically different people management strategies in those countries. So those orientation or doing a little bit of homework before you enter definitely help. And once you know you are dealing with, and this is not the only country with passive aggressive people, there are many in the world. So, and it is not also limited only to countries. It could also be limited to segments of people. So once you realize that, that gives you some sort of background or a plan to stand on and start working. So if the past experience, people with past experience has told you this is passive aggressive community, then you know what you need to watch out for.
Great. Manu, thank you so much for that. And I'm sure there'll be lots of questions after the fact. Mehul, over to you to pick up the overall thread of the conference.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Sanjay, and thank you, Manu.